listeners.
Chatty Chappies.
Here we are again.
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Brian and Andrew on
Chatty Chappies.
Chatty Chappies.
Thank you for turning on Chatty Chappies.
I think left
4 people.
4 people in the church. And she said it's really sad, but it is going to be closing its doors. You know, like, I don't know how they're managing. But they've got a manse, and at the moment in the manse, there's a gentleman in it. I think he's a writer. So the thing is, he's obviously paying some rent, which is helping, I suppose, for the upkeep. But when we were a walk there recently, Leslie and Kathleen and I went up to Rogart for the day because Kathleen was keen to do this walk, and you start from the Free Church, or that's one of the ways to go. And the front of it, it was really quite sad. You know, it was all weeds everywhere, and the door was, and I thought, goodness, because Sandy, that's Kathleen, you know who I mean? Kathleen and Roddy, her dad, he was the elder, he was the precentor, he was everything in that church.
Right.
He just did everything. So he died there, in the last 2 years? Not that long ago.
It's, you know, like, once upon a time in the Highlands and across Scotland, but in the Highlands in particular, church membership was huge. The whole village would go. But, you know, you go through the islands and in Lewis, you know, you go through so many little villages, but there's always at least 2 church buildings. There'll be a Free Church and a Church of Scotland, or a Free Presbyterian Church and Church of Scotland. And in Stornoway itself,
Yes.
you know yourself how many churches, but they were built at a time, you know, the buildings themselves are solid construction, you know, 200-year-old buildings. The maintenance of them now is colossal.
Yeah.
The heating of them.
Well, there's the heating, that's a big thing,
If people are not going to church, what is it you're going to do with this building?
Yeah.
So, like you see in Fortrose, as you come down the hill by the War Memorial. The church there is subdivided into flats.
Okay.
As you go round the Highlands, there are heaps of church buildings that are...
Portsoy, I think the church there, 60,000.
Yeah.
Yep, whole building, 60,000.
Yeah.
It's on the Church of Scotland website.
But how much it's going to cost you? Yeah. And like I'm not an architect or a building engineer.
Yeah.
But you look at a church steeple and you think, it's very nice, but that's going to take a lot of maintenance and health and safety and all the rest of it. You see it every year just with simple things like chimney stacks, toppling and bits falling off buildings and all the rest of it. Church steeples are completely
Big
different.
Yeah. So the statistics coming out recently are saying that if it carries on declining, the Church of Scotland's membership by 2050 will be nil.
Will be nil.
It's deteriorating that
quickly.
Yeah. So who'd want to be an official in 121 George Street?
Well, that's right.
Making decisions on stuff that's going back years and years and years.
But then, as you say, they're already selling off
Yes.
the properties. And one of the other things was it wasn't just the church building, it's all the manses.
Yes.
Like traditionally a manse was not a little bungalow in the country.
No.
They were all substantial,
Big, really big.
big
Yeah, they were.
Yep.
4 or 5 bedroom
Yes.
houses.
Yes.
And this isn't just a Scottish thing, this is of course they would have it in the same in England with rectories and vicarages and such like.
And there'd be a lot more dining, there'd be a lot more like I think quite often there would be people invited in, for
Yes,
lunches.
and that I think
Yeah.
was the part of the reason
Yeah.
that the house was so big.
Yes.
Because you had,
Because you had your dining rooms and,
Yeah.
and big tables.
And-
Oh, I can remember
but
it.
you
yeah.
can, they can't all be sold off as boutique hotels and country restaurants.
No, and maybe the cost to convert a church into a house is more expensive than building a new house.
Well, you
Yeah.
said about Portsoy, £60,000,
Yeah.
but how much? Yeah,
What's the total cost?
yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to then throw 500,000 at it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And but in towns and cities and such like, a lot of churches are already converted to being restaurants, nightclubs,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
whatever. Certainly in more rural areas, you would be looking at doing flats and. Like we see it in Manchester as well
Yeah.
when we've been there.
Quite a few
As you
there,
drive
and
into Manchester from
itself, then.
the sort of coming into Manchester, just as you're in from Old Trafford, there's a church which has been made into flats, and you do look at it's a church with a tower rather than a spire, and you do look at the tower and you think, yeah, I would quite like that as a flat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one would be quite good. Sitting.
Is it in? Oh, am I right? Am I wrong? Is it in Bewley? There's a church somewhere. You go up one of the side roads. Was there a church there that was made into flats?
Could well
Remember,
be.
Brian?
Could,
Maybe we
no,
went
I can't
parking
recall.
one time. I thought we were looking for somewhere
Can't recall.
up the side to
Yeah,
park.
could well
But
be.
there's always been the occasional church or church building for sale because of changes in population and just not fit for purpose. But what we have now in the country is we have people having to make decisions on property. Well, I'm assuming it's done at 121 George Street for Church of Scotland. Maybe it's done at Presbytery, I don't know. But they have to make decisions on buildings. I'm assuming they will try and have these buildings as worship buildings, but then at the end of the day, if they have to get rid of it because of the underlying costs, they have to get rid of it.
Yeah, and it's, if in the community the people are not attending it when it is a worship building,
Yep.
then they're getting rid of it. What is it going to be?
Yes. Yeah.
If people don't have the beliefs that previous generations had, then
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like for instance, 40 years ago, if a church was converted into a business and they were selling carpets, people were up in arms about it.
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, it's almost like
What did you want us to do with it?
yes, the business is saying, well, let's get rid of it
Mm-hmm.
because it's a millstone round our neck.
Yeah.
Anyway, interesting, isn't it?
Interesting, sad,
And we don't have all the answers.
and we don't have all the answers.
You were listening to another program of Chatty Chappies.